Hi, everyone. My name is Paige. I'm a Deschutes Public Library, and I'm here tonight joined by Jules Schnedeker and Robin Courts as part of our plant-based college cooking. This is their new cookbook that they'll be talking all about, and these are all plant-based, easy, microwavable recipes that all of us need to know about for those busy nights when we just have no time. And don't worry, you don't have to sacrifice the flavor or your health because we have these two experts here to talk all about that. Our panelists, you might recognize them. They have joined the library before, and we are so grateful to welcome them back. Tonight, we have the two-time cookbook authors, Robin Courts and Jules Schnedeker. Jules' life changed forever in May 2016 after she innocently hit play on a documentary called Forks Over Knives and suddenly saw the impact that everyday food choices had on every aspect of her life. She went vegan overnight and never looked back. Along with a master's in humane education, Jules holds a BA in creative writing from the New School and has been project management professional certified since 2011. When she's not busy telling her dog how cute he is, and I've seen him, adorable, she's usually scouting new vegan products and trail running, blogging, or learning French. And Robin Courts early in life made the decision to not eat meat. What began as a hobby, cooking and talking about healthy foods, soon evolved into a deep passion to educate families on the importance and the fun of eating plant-based or vegan foods. Along with a master's in humane education, Robin also holds an MA in thanatology, a BS in psychology, a BS in gerontology, and a certificate in plant-based nutrition through Cornell. When she's not in the kitchen or out running trails, you'll find her with her two sons and husband. Robin, Jules, thank you so much for being here tonight. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you to get us started.
Great. Thank you so much for having us back and for just giving us an opportunity to share some more yummy, good food with everybody. We're just going to real quick say, give a quick overview. So the front slide here, plant-based college cooking. So this is our second cookbook that Jules and I put together. And although we did, kind of steer this towards folks who are cooking while in college or kind of during that time when maybe you only have a mini fridge or, just a microwave or kind of limited kitchen access, we realized quickly while we were putting these recipes together that they absolutely apply to busy parents or other folks. So even though it is, advertised for college, it's kind of for everybody. So we will go ahead and get started. I already had a wonderful introduction. Thank you. So I don't know what else to say about myself. So I'll just quickly read my quote. I have always believed we should match our plate with our heart. After I had kids, I took this idea and put it into action by going plant-based and raising my kids vegan. And Jules and I, of course, were sticking with the college theme. So we went old school with our photos for this presentation. My background has already been shared. There's so little for me to say. I think the most important thing is while Jules and I were completing our graduate degrees in humane education, we very much connected over our love of really simple, easy foods that are also nutritious and vegan. And so we kind of put our two ideas together and out of it came Plant-Based Point. And we absolutely love putting presentations just like this together. We just think it's really fun to kind of break it down and keep it really simple. What some people can kind of look at as like a scary first step into eating differently. So we are really excited to go through our presentation this evening.
Yes, Robin, I agree. We had such a great introduction. Not much more to say, just to emphasize that what really hit home for me was when I finally had the awareness about how what was on my plate actually was connected to what was happening to the environment. That was such a wake-up call for me. And that continues to be one of the driving forces for me. But even though that's a very heavy thing and it can feel impossible to fix sometimes, there's still so much joy and hope and wonderful opportunities with going plant-based and even just experimenting with plant-based food. So we want to take away some of that heaviness and bring in just lots of fun, easy ideas. So we're just going to dive right in. Okay, class is in session. I hope you're ready. Like Paige was saying, you don't have to write anything down. We're going to share these slides after, so don't worry. But the one thing we would love for you to write down, because we are going to be throwing a lot of like recipe and hack ideas at you and some really cool nutrition facts. If you just jot down one idea that you hear tonight that you definitely want to commit to trying, we found that that'll really get the ball rolling. Because if you want to make everything in a cookbook, you know, sometimes it's hard to get started. But if you pick one thing that you see that you want to try, and also let us know in the chat. I will be active in the chat. So if you've got questions or you want to share what your one thing is that you're going to make after this presentation, definitely let us know in the chat.
Okay, so right out the gate, we often, as we're doing these presentations, words get thrown around and sometimes they mean different things to different people. So as we go through the presentation, you're going to hear words like vegan, sustainable, plant-based, things like that. And so we just kind of wanted to right out the gate clear up confusion and kind of let you know how we use these words and as we're talking about recipes. So plant-based for us is our food. It's how we're eating. Are our meals primarily plant-based? So, you know, no animal products included in those meals. So purely plant-based. When we talk about vegan, vegan can also be what you call your food if it is vegan. For us, we look at vegan as more of kind of an overall lifestyle. So maybe these are folks who avoid wearing leather or they don't consume honey and they sort of take it beyond just what's on their plate. And then sustainable. So the word sustainable, I feel like there's kind of this idea that it gets applied to things that maybe it shouldn't be applied to. There's different theories of, you know, what's called greenwashing. What kind of always makes me laugh is when you start to think about if you go down the soap aisles now, you'll see, you know, plant-based dish detergent. And I always kind of think, really, is it? I don't really know what's in it. But are they just using this like buzzword to sell a product? So this is why we just kind of want to right out the gate, like these are the words of how we use them as we're speaking. So sustainable to us is something that's good for the environment, the economy, and society. So when we're talking about that, I think the best example is natural organic fruits and vegetables are absolutely sustainable. You know, they are natural. And if you're not treating them with anything, they're good for our bodies. They're good for the planet. They're obviously good for our animal friends. So that's kind of an example of something we would consider sustainable. So I mentioned at the beginning when I introduced myself, my sort of theory of matching your plate with your heart. So it's really hard to talk about our love of vegan food and not kind of talk about the why behind it. So Jules and I are both on the same page that as we look at sort of life's decisions and what you're going to eat or where you're going to shop and things like that, you kind of want it to match your own, you know, sort of personal values and ethics. And so I kind of came up with this idea of matching your plate with your heart. So not only do you want to make sure the food is not, you know, causing any cruelty to anybody and any animals, but you also want it to be healthy for you, for your heart, you know, for your body, and then of course for your family. So I mentioned I have 2 kids. So for me, it really became a matter of, I want to make sure whatever food I'm putting down in front of my family is truly feeding them, you know, mind, body, and soul, sort of all parts, and not causing any harm. So that's what we mean when we say matching your plate with your heart and sort of that why behind it. And this is just one of our all-time favorite quotes, and we just feel like it's a great sort of kickoff into talking about food. And I'll read it. So it just says, "You cannot get through a single day without having an impact on the world around you. What you do makes a difference, and you have to decide what kind of difference you want to make." And of course, this is the wonderful Jane Goodall. And the reason we think this quote kind of is a great kickoff, because some folks can think kind of to what Jules was saying, that overwhelming feeling of like, gosh, what can I do? You know, there's so much happening if you want to talk about, you know, animal cruelty or climate change or pollution or all of these huge, heavy topics. But in all reality, you can make a decision 3 times a day with what you're putting on your plate. And so I think that just kind of simplifies it, that we do have more control over our, you know, course and our decisions. And if you can start with something literally as simple as what you're having for breakfast, it actually does make a big impact. So we just kind of wanted to plant that seed. One of the things I always have to move the box where our heads are. I'm sorry, or I can't read the whole quote. Oh, and I didn't put it in the right spot. There we go. Sorry. So one of the things that Jules and I often talk about is when you start thinking about eating differently, people can get really kind of in the weeds on, do I need a blender? Do I need this? Do I need that? Do I need this expensive, food dehydrator and things like that? And I'm often kind of brought back to Rich Roll. If you're familiar with him, he has an awesome podcast. He's author, athlete, just overall super cool person. And he has a really great perspective on this. And he tells a story about how he, got into ultra running, and he would get these messages from people who would say, what kind of shoes are you wearing? What kind of watch are you using? And sort of they wanted to get into the details on it. And he would just write back and say, just go out for a run with what you have and see if you like it. You don't want to spend $400 on a watch and then realize a mile in, you hate it. So now you've invested a lot of money into something that isn't really your thing. So I think this quote just kind of wraps that up nicely. The biggest piece of advice I have for somebody who's looking to get out of their comfort zone and embrace some kind of challenge in their life is to just begin. So don't overthink it. Just jump right in. Use the tools you currently have in your kitchen and just make adjustments as you go. If you realize your blender's not where it needs to be, put it on that list of things like, okay, when I'm ready to replace it, this is what I'll do next. But don't necessarily jump right into large investments before you know if you're going to want to do that.
And on that tip about not doing what you don't like, Robin and I love to emphasize that going plant-based or incorporating more plant-based items into your life does not mean that you suddenly have to start eating tofu if you hate it, or if you have an aversion to soy or anything else. So we try to make all of our recipes very friendly in multiple ways, being cheap, easy to find ingredients, and easily swapped ingredients. So we came up with, in both of our cookbooks, we have a page about substitutions and swaps, which just shows some of the common things that you can swap one for the other. And one of our top tips, especially as it relates to easy college cooking, is onions. Believe it or not, I hear tell from Robin that there are people who don't like onions. I find this hard to believe, but I've heard it's true. But if you are okay with onions and you like an oniony flavor, but you hate chopping them like I do, scallions make your life so much easier, and there's no cooking involved. You can sprinkle them on something fresh. They're usually about 99 cents. You don't even need a knife. If you have clean kitchen shears, you can just snip them over whatever you're eating. And so if Robin goes to the next slide, I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. I think every college student's dream meal, late night study night. These are the easiest nachos ever. They just have a cashew queso and some beans. Actually, I think it was a can of chili. That's how simple this one was. And the way to take that to the next level, or really anything you make, like a simple tomato soup, if you just sprinkle those scallions on top, you get all that flavor, but you haven't really had to spend money or do much work, and it looks really nice if you want to Instagram that photo. So that is one of my favorite things to do on weeks where I don't feel like cooking, but I want a little to jazz it up a little bit.
And before we get too far into all of our recipes, we always want to make sure folks have the nutrition information that they're probably thinking about. So one of the most common questions that Jules and I get asked when we say we're vegan or plant-based, what about your protein? What about your B12, vitamins and minerals and things like that? So the good news is you can absolutely get all of your vitamins, minerals, nutrition, et cetera, from a plant-based diet or vegan, however you want to call it. Fiber especially, fiber is only found in plants, so you're definitely going to check that box. B12 is kind of an interesting one because basically everybody should probably be taking a B12 supplement at this point. There are very few natural sources of B12 anymore. Just from what we've done to soil, we've sort of unfortunately kind of gone too far with some things. So even folks who are eating meat, though most animals are actually injected with B12 as well, because they're not getting enough of it either. So B12 would be the only one on the list that you'd want to make sure you are taking a supplement for, or if you do get your labs checked, obviously just making sure you're where you need to be on that. And then we're making a quick note, excuse me, about taste buds. So this is super fascinating to both Jules and I. Something that we hear often from folks is, if you're kind of switching from a diet of French fries and cheeseburgers to salads, tofu, soup, smoothies, things like that, is that it doesn't taste, they're not loving the flavor. And what folks need to realize is you actually just have to kind of detox your taste buds and kind of let them relearn the flavor of things. So naturally, we regenerate taste buds every couple weeks. If you are eating a sort of standard American diet, so high in fat, high in salt, high in sugar, that regeneration process is a lot slower. So this is why you'll see, especially older folks who really just lay on the salt if they've just ordered, potatoes or something. And it's genuinely because their taste buds have dulled over the years. And that is natural. That does happen, but maybe more than it should be, just depending on how you're eating. So our recommendation is if you are shifting back to a more plant-based way of eating, give it a couple tries before you throw in the towel. So, take that broccoli and eat it raw and maybe do it 4, 5, 6, 7 times so that you can let your tongue relearn that flavor. This has always been something really important. Since I have little kids, we have tried to make sure they learned the flavors first. So we didn't feed them, broccoli covered with cheese or ranch or anything. We started with just the raw broccoli or, whatever vegetable you want. Because just to let your taste buds learn the flavor and decide if they like it or not. Because, there are people who don't like broccoli and I understand that. But that way you're kind of learning for yourself. So, it's sort of not a warning, but if you are eating a certain way and then you sort of about face start eating another way, it's going to take a little bit and just detox and just kind of ride the wave through it and give it a couple tries. And then we briefly mentioned fiber and protein. So probably the biggest buzzword when it comes to food is protein. If you go to the grocery store, protein bar, protein milk, protein ice cream, protein, all the things, they all have protein in them. And there's not a lot of mention about fiber, which is kind of scary. So fiber, like I mentioned, you're only going to find that in plants. You absolutely need fiber for digestion. It is paramount. The average person actually gets twice as much protein in a day as what they need, which is also scary because there's a reason why there's certain requirements for our body size. And if you're doubling that, that's kind of system overload. And less than 5% of people actually get the daily amount of fiber that they need in a day. So you can imagine, from our perspective, we sort of look at that as scary because if the first question you're asking me is, what about your protein? It makes us worry, where's fiber's, PR agent? Because they need more advertisement. We definitely need to be eating fiber. And a story I like to share is I had a really good friend who found out she was fiber deficient. And so she started buying Fiber One bars. And I looked at one of them because I was kind of curious of what's all in this. And it had about 4.5 grams of fiber in it. And an apple usually has about 5 grams of fiber in it. And I thought, well, gosh, you could literally just eat this apple and not get all the sugar and the added stuff and the processed, whatever in this bar. You could just eat this apple. But we've been programmed that, it said Fiber One on it, and that's what I need to eat. So the suggestion here or the tip here is just read labels of things. And if you can get the nutrient you need from a natural source, like a plant, that's going to be the cleanest and best way to get that nutrient. And then we did mention sort of at the beginning, a little bit more about the why behind eating vegan and plant-based. So just another quote that we found kind of summed it up really well. So Gene Bauer, he's the founder of Farm Sanctuary. And he says the 1,600 dairies in California's Central Valley alone produce more waste than a city of 21 million people. That's more than the populations of London, New York, and Chicago combined. So just the stress that animal agriculture puts on our environment is scary enough. And especially for items that aren't necessary to our own health. So dairy milk, cow milk, it's not something that humans need. So we don't need to continue supporting that type of industry. And shifting away from it would clear up those lands, which is obviously, a goal that we would want. The other piece of information we want to share, we will often talk to folks who will say, I'm buying my meat and it's labeled sustainable or humane. And so more of those sort of buzzwords. And unfortunately, the reality is that 99% of meat that people consume comes from a factory farm. So obviously the vast, vast majority, almost all does. So it's just really important to know where your food is coming from and try to steer away from that and possibly into more plant-based choices. And so since this was originally college themed and college themed in our cookbook, we did want to share there is quite a bit of buzz on the internet about a lot of different universities who are shifting their cafeterias to being vegan and plant-based friendly. So I just grabbed a couple titles and, just to kind of showcase that it's definitely shifting in that direction, which is great. More options. Obviously, these are also educational institutions. And so they want to promote, the science that is telling us that we need to shift a little bit further away from our animal-based foods. And then in the bottom right, the UCLA plant-based guide, I just put a screenshot of it up there, but if you're curious about it and you Google that, it was a really, really well put together book, a little booklet, PDF version, tons of great information in it. So I'm sure we can probably pull that up and send it, but it was really great to look through.
And I promise everyone, you're about to graduate Plant-Based 101 and get into the yummy, yummy food. By the way, I hope you've had dinner already, because otherwise it's going to be a little bit of a tease if you haven't. But before we get to that, just real quick, of course, as part of college cooking, if you're on a college budget, you've got to plan a little bit ahead of time if you really want to save money. So what we did in the college cookbook was we made a 5-week meal plan where you're only spending about $20 or $25 a week, and that'll get you most of your meals, and it will slowly build your pantry. So those were a couple of customizations we did for college cooking, knowing that if you're new to having your own kitchen, or maybe you haven't been cooking, if you suddenly have to go buy every spice and even stuff like soy sauce, it just really starts to add up quickly. So you don't have to buy it all at once. And you don't have to buy everything, just like Robin was saying with the new blenders or the appliances. You really just need to buy what you use and the spices that you use most often. So for a lot of us, that's things like crushed red pepper and garlic powder, which are usually pretty cheap. So besides that piece, the other thing that I always encourage people to do, if you're thinking about your week and wanting to save money, is try to create a theme for that week. And it's as simple as whatever you might be craving for that week. Maybe it's Italian, Mexican, Indian, and figure out what's in common with those few things. Like for Italian, of course, probably tomato sauce, some pasta, and then figure out kind of how you can build from there, leveraging these cheap staples like potatoes, beans, rice, super cheap. Tomato sauce, pretty cheap. And you can kind of start layering. So sort of like the food pyramid, at the base of it, you've got the really cheap staples, and then you can layer on some of the pricier things, like some of that plant-based dairy and the meat substitutes. I love them. I think they're delicious, but they are really expensive sometimes. So I'll start usually with a cheaper staple and then add like a little bit of vegan cheese on top, so that I'm not spending a ton of money. And then on the next slide, I'll just give you a real peek into what that looks like in a sample meal plan. This is from the college cookbook. So this is the first week, and we just have you buying a couple of things to start off, if you don't already have them, like sriracha. And then the base for a lot of things is potatoes and beans, so really cheap. But even though that sounds a little bit boring, once you toss in a few things, like maybe one bunch of cilantro, a couple of avocados, that sriracha sauce, it's very easy to jazz things up without spending a lot of money. Tortillas, we'll get to that later. That's one of my number one recommendations too, if you're on a budget, because there is a lot you can do with a tortilla. And so on that note, I think, are we there, Robin? Oh, we got one more. I just wanted, sorry, I teased you. So we actually did a presentation last year about how to build your pantry. So in these slides, which you'll be getting the link to, we've got some links in there right to videos that, if you think they might be helpful, we hope that they are. And these are just some of our favorite staples. That something like tahini on that list could be a little bit pricier, but it lasts a long time. So when we do recommend a staple like that, could be in the $6 to $8 range. It's usually something that'll last you a while. And everything else here is usually very affordable. And here in Bend, Oregon, all of these things are readily available at pretty much any grocery store. We are very lucky in this town. But if you ever can't find anything, or you're wondering about a substitution or a swap or a new product, send us a message, because we love to share all the info we have. And I'm here in Bend, Oregon, so I can tell you the scoop on all the hot new vegan items that are around. Okay, and now.
Oh, I should have drum rolled. That was too quick.
We figured, we knew you had to wait for the food recipe photos in this presentation. So we thought we would start with dessert, because my motto is life is uncertain, start with dessert. And so in case you didn't know, Oreos are accidentally vegan. Yes, it's true. And of course, a great college snack. And if you're seeing this and wondering, wait, you're just talking about apples and now you're showing us Oreos, we're going to show you a mix of more healthy plant-based items and some like college fun snacks. So again, no matter where you are, there's really a plant-based option for anyone to start going a little more vegan if that's where you are. So this particular recipe, that chocolate fondue, is just 2 ingredients. It is semi-sweet chocolate chips and coconut cream. You can find both of those at Trader Joe's on the cheap. They're about $2 each. And for something like this, we did a lot of recipes for 1 and 2 in the plant-based college cookbook, assuming you're just cooking for yourself. So something like that, you can actually save the extra and just make enough for you for that moment and that snack. But yeah, you just stir those 2 together, microwave them, bam, you have the best fondue. Of course, you can dip anything you'd like in there, but couldn't be simpler. And if the coconut cream thing is throwing you off, I really don't think it tastes coconutty. So I would give it a try if you haven't. And guacamole, my favorite. This picture was getting me. This picture definitely makes me hungry. So I always love to tell people that to make a really great guacamole, all you need is red onion, salt, ripe avocado. We put a little cilantro on there to be fancy, but you don't need it. Those are the only 3 ingredients you need. So if you love guacamole too, but you don't want to deal with all the extra stuff that sometimes goes in there, just get those 3 things and you'll be amazed. And then of course you can use that on anything. And roughly speaking, like 1 avocado usually makes a really nice hearty portion for like a hearty snack, I think. What do you think, Robin?
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, you can just eat it right out of the skin if you wanted to. While we go through the next couple slides with our food pictures, we have some nutritional information to kind of pair with them, just to kind of highlight. One of the things, so Jules is definitely our resident food hack, perfectionist. I like to find the uniqueness about each food and like what nutrients are in them. And I just find it really interesting, which foods are best for vitamin C or vitamin whatever. So I'm going to throw in some nutrition information as we go. So avocados, high in vitamin C, folate. They can aid with digestion. They can decrease the risk of cancer, and they're good for your blood pressure, which I thought were all very interesting facts about your avocado.
This again, I think we're like on a theme now with 2 or 3 ingredients so far, which for the most part, the college cookbook has between 2 and 5 ingredients per recipe. And so this one is as simple as buying dates, cutting them in half, taking the pit out, and stuffing it with peanut butter or your favorite nut or seed butter. And you can sprinkle raisins or some cinnamon on top. The cinnamon really takes it next level. And when I first heard about this, I really was skeptical, but it blew my mind. And I actually like to put them in the refrigerator for a few hours. I love them cold. I can tell you that my non-vegan family members also were blown away by this, and they were not thinking they would like dates. So especially if you've got kids around too, and you are kind of wanting to steer towards something a little bit more all natural, this is a fantastic option. I know Robin had trouble taking this photo because I think, what happened, Robin?
Yeah, I made the whole plate and I said, oh, I got to take a picture for the cookbook. And my kids ate the whole plate literally before. I had to make 2 batches, if I remember. And I was like, okay, guys, I have to take a picture this time. Let me. But they're really, really good. And they're so crazy simple. And they're very good for you. So a couple fun facts about dates themselves. So dates are highly nutritious. They are a super good source of fiber, potassium, B6. They contain antioxidants. This is going to be a theme with all of our foods. They increase stool frequency, so aiding you in your digestion. And they're good for your brain. They're helpful for brain health. And the other thing about it, we talk a little bit at the beginning, most of our recipes are super editable. So if you want to send these to school with your kids, swap out the peanut butter for the sunflower butter so they're nut-free. Perfect. So then they can have a little treat in their lunchbox. If you want to swap out the raisins and use your leftover chocolate chips from your chocolate fondue, perfect. Throw those on. I like the combination of these flavors, and I love the combination of cinnamon and salt on top. It's just kind of a nice little, I don't know, extraness on the top. Super simple, and yeah, stick them in the fridge for a little bit and they're really good.
And this one, great late night study snack. This is so versatile, but if you have not tried adding other things to your popcorn, this one is my favorite combo. It is peanuts and the Robin, it's the Unreal. That's the brand, right? They're called
Yeah.
Unreal M&Ms. I don't even really like M&Ms, but I tried this Unreal brand of them, which I know I've seen at Whole Foods and some of the natural grocers around here, just in the regular candy aisle. And they are accidentally vegan, and they're so much better than I remember M&Ms being. So I highly recommend them. But you can get crazy. You can make your own very simple syrup kind of kettle corn topping, and that would just be, sugar and water that you boil until the sugar dissolves, and make this like wonderful drizzle, or even just a little bit of maple syrup. You could go more savory, but definitely if you haven't tried this trio, try it and let me know what you think.
Yeah, get a little sweet and savory. So popcorn is also a really great snack because if you are somebody who maybe you usually reach for like the bag of potato chips and you're trying to steer away from that, popcorn will definitely kind of fill that need or that want. So that's a really good thing. It does kind of check both boxes of the sweet and savory if you mix in some of the chocolate with it. And then popcorn contains something called polyphenols. Which I wasn't quite sure what they are, but they are antioxidants. So popcorn is actually good for you, which I thought was pretty cool.
And Robin, we just got a question while we're talking about popping popcorn, sort of related. Someone just asked about the benefits of an air fryer.
Yeah. So I had an air fryer for a very short period of time and I don't remember what happened to it, but they're really great because you're not heating up your entire oven. They cook food a lot quicker, so less energy. From everything I've seen about them, they are kind of a healthy option because you're not like dumping stuff in grease and oil. So you're not frying it on, like on your stovetop. So I've heard really, really good things about air fryers for just their convenience. And yeah, I think they can change something and kind of make it into a healthier option. Obviously, it depends on what you're making. If it's something that's like already battered and fried and this and that, like, that's already kind of built into it. But yeah, I think they're a pretty good tool.
And I can just quickly add that my non-vegan sister and I did a taste test of the Morningstar Farms corn dogs and some like chicken nuggets in her air fryer. And I had never had an air fryer, and holy smokes, was it delicious. So the corn dogs by Morningstar Farms, if you haven't had them, they're vegan now. They didn't used to be. I believe they're about 130 calories and 2 grams of fat, which doesn't sound like it would be a very good corn dog with 2 grams of fat, but put it in that air fryer and it tasted like it had been fried. Everyone in my family, we all ate it. And my non-vegan family members are now buying those corn dogs. So there's got to be something to that air fryer because yeah, it blew us all away.
So we're going to talk about oats a little bit. So we put a couple recipes, and actually in both of our cookbooks that involve oats. So I feel like oats kind of get a bad rep that they're just for breakfast. Not the case. So on the right, you have overnight oats, which if you have never made overnight oats and you're not a morning person, this is like the best thing you can do. Before you go to bed, you mix the oats with whatever non-dairy milk you want to use, whatever toppings you want on it. I am, as you saw in my date slide, I love cinnamon. I would just drown it in cinnamon, a drizzle of agave, a handful of nuts, put it all in a bowl or Tupperware, stick it in your fridge. Boom, you've got breakfast ready to go in the morning. Super nutritious. Oats are so good for you. What's also great about oats is they're really versatile. So you can turn them into a savory dish. So in the middle of the screen is a peanut butter and jelly banana coconut oat bowl that I made that it was like just this perfectly warm, gooey wonderfulness, and not necessarily a breakfast. Like you could have this for lunch and maybe you not wanting to do bread or have it on like a sandwich type thing. So a peanut butter and jelly oat bowl. And then my absolute favorite, and when I first put this together, my husband thought I was crazy, but on the top left. So it's oats. And so all you do is it's like a 1-to-1. So 1 cup of water mixed with 1 cup of oats, microwave it, stir it up. Your oats are done. On top of that is an avocado just mushed and dumped in the bowl. Artichokes that I chopped up with my kitchen scissors because I didn't feel like getting out a knife and a cutting board. So super simple. And then a handful of pistachios and a drizzle of sriracha. I know it sounds weird. That's a lot of different stuff going on. But it was the best, like hearty, savory, warm bowl of oats I think I've ever had. And I would probably eat that for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, or just a snack. Also something that would travel really well. So if you made this and you had it in like a thermos, you could eat it when you're at work, or stick it in the fridge and then microwave it later. So oats themselves are a wonderful source of protein. They have vitamin B, antioxidants, fiber, and they are shown to lower your blood sugar. So something I was always told when I took like health and nutrition class about oats, and it's a strange visual, but follow me out here, is that they're sort of little scrubbers and they do a really good job of cleaning out our system. That oats are just really, really good. So I always picture the little oats like they're little sponges just cleaning out and kind of getting rid of all the crap in us. So I'm team oats. And definitely try the savory bowl. Maybe that can be the one thing that at least one person will try, but it's so good. And the pistachios give this like perfect crunch on top of it. I can't say enough. I'm going to have that tomorrow. And then chickpea salad. So not a warm, savory dish, more of a colder salad. So if you are a big fan of like tuna salad, egg salad, things like that, this chickpea salad, I mean, you don't even need to put it on anything. You can just eat it out of the bowl after you make it. But it's basically your traditional, tuna fish salad recipe, but we're going to use chickpeas instead of your tuna. Or like I said, if you want to do like egg salad or, one of those other types of salads. So the key with the chickpeas, you get a can, you're going to drain them, you're going to rinse them, and you're going to mash them. And then you put in all the ingredients that you like. Dill is like the best flavor with this because they match very, very well together. Definitely a really healthy option for school lunches. I put this in my kids' school lunch quite a bit, and then just like a handful of crackers, and they eat it more of a dip really than a sandwich. In the top right, so growing up, my mom used to make waffles with tuna fish, tomato, and cheese. I don't know if anybody else has ever had this combination of foods. I know it's strange, but it was so good. It was like that after school snack, and I loved it. And so I made it and obviously veganized it. And so it's a vegan waffle and then the chickpea salad, and that's chow vegan cheese. If you guys haven't had that, it's probably one of the, if not the best sliced non-dairy cheese. And it's really, really good. So chickpea salad, wonderful. Chickpeas, another great source of protein. They contain folate. They are good for an iron deficiency. They are good to prevent heart disease and cancer, and they improve nerve function. And then on the left there, you see the little link. Like Jules said, you guys will get a copy of the slides, and that link will take you to the video recipe of this chickpea salad. And we highly recommend it. It's really good. It travels really well. This is kind of a road trip snack staple if I've got the kids and we're going somewhere. So it's a good one.
And a lot of the things we're talking about, Robin, too, if you are living with somebody maybe in your household who isn't totally on board for the plant-based journey that you find yourself on, a lot of these recipes are really dead ringers for the non-vegan version, or very friendly to the non-vegan palate. So I've had a lot of, because I know I've mentioned multiple times, my family is not vegan. And so I've gotten to really experiment with them and see what they like. And I love hearing from them because I want to be able to really say when I recommend something, trust me, this is something vegans and non-vegans alike like. And speaking of, so this classic tomato soup, creamy tomato soup recipe, just in time for the winter season that is coming for us, whether we like it or not, although we do like it here in Bend. 3 ingredients, again, if you don't count those scallions on top. It is just rice, a can of pureed tomato, and a can of coconut milk. I like to use full fat coconut milk, but you could certainly use reduced fat. And just those 3 ingredients plus water boiled together on your stovetop, or you could microwave it. But we're kind of thinking for those folks who have a hot plate or a stovetop, that's the way to do it, in just a small saucepan. And that's it, all you need. The rice cooks in the cooking liquid. So however, if you're using brown rice, that might take 40 minutes. You just read the package. And white rice is usually about 15 or 20 minutes. So basically, can of tomato puree, can of coconut milk, fill one of those cans with water, then half a cup of rice, dump it all in there and boil it until the rice is cooked. And I've got to tell you, it's the best creamy tomato soup recipe I've ever had. It's in our college cookbook. It's probably one of my top contenders if I had to pick a favorite one in that cookbook. So Robin, I know you're going to make that oatmeal bowl. I might be making this week.
And the shout out to this bowl, as simple as those ingredients are, the best thing we can say about it is tomatoes and vitamin C. Obviously, as we're moving into the fall and winter months, cold season, things like that, we want to make sure we're getting all of our vitamins. This is a great winter lunch. Probably, I'm going to bet also freezable. And so if you made it and you realize, I don't want this right now, maybe I want to save some for winter, making a bigger batch, putting it away, and then just coming back to it. So
oh, and of course, we can't talk about college cooking without talking about ramen. And even if you love ramen, I think a lot of us get a little creeped out when we start reading that like 47 word long ingredient list, especially on those little packets. So we came up with a recipe that replaces the packet sauce. And it's just super simple agave soy sauce, a little crushed pepper if you like it, some water. Because basically you want salt, sweet, and then a little bit of water to water it down, and spicy if you like spicy. So you can achieve that flavor. And it also works really well in things like a peanut sauce. Basically, if you have that agave and soy sauce, water, and something spicy, and then garlic and ginger that you can just use the powdered version. That's kind of the basis for anything like this, those flavors. So really, really, really simple. Again, of course, this is in the college cookbook, but making your own sauce. You can still buy the noodles. The noodles they have some kind of scary looking things in them too, if you haven't read that package. So you might want to stay away from those noodles if you're trying to go more all natural. And then you can put it on any kind of noodle, soba noodle, even I've done angel hair pasta if that's all you've got in your cupboard. So it's still a way to keep it really cheap and affordable, because of course you can get pasta like that on sale sometimes for about 50 cents. And Robin, I'm just doing a time check. We're at 7:13.
Okay.
So we've got 17 minutes left.
Okay.
So we might move a little bit more quickly through the other slides.
You say that, now I'm going to like also add another note in. So really quickly, for these noodles, if you want to not buy the ramen noodle or the ramen brand noodles, Lotus has a wonderful package. You can get 3 of the like bricks. They're gluten-free as well, and they boil up just like ramen noodles. They're shaped like ramen. Anyway, I've seen them at multiple grocery stores. Okay, we'll go really quickly through this one. So this is just another sort of dessert option, and these were really fun to make. So I just picked 2 different kinds of flavors and kind of played around with how to make these into little bowls. So the first one's a peanut butter and jelly cup. The second one is a s'mores cup. If I had to choose between the 2, I might go with the s'mores. Dandies is your vegan marshmallow brand. You can find them in basically all the grocery stores. They come in little and big. The key to this is that, especially in the s'mores one, is you're just going to make like a good cookie crust base. So that's going to be, in like a Ziploc bag, and crush the cookies. You're going to use your microwave for this. All ingredients that you're probably already going to have on hand: peanut butter, jelly, crushed nuts. I really like a crunch on top of things, as you can see in both of these. But I won't spend too much time on this. You will get this recipe in the slides, but really good. And sort of, you see that like, cake in a mug or whatever, cupcake in a mug. It's sort of similar to that idea, that it's just like a single serving dessert. And then I would assume most people have seen these lovely creations. So salads in mason jars, and they travel really well and they store really well. So the night before, you can totally make this. So if you are like rushed out the door, day of classes, day of work, day of, I don't know, carpooling the kids around, whatever it may be, this is the order in which you should put the food in the jar so that it doesn't get soggy. And the idea is you're going to tip the jar over and pour it into a bowl to eat. So the dressing is going to come out last. If you don't have a bowl, I would just leave space at the top of the jar so you can shake it and get all the ingredients everywhere. And then you could just use the jar as your dish. But there's so many different varieties of this. You can just Google mason jar salads, and it'll be about 1 billion different options, taco salad or, Caesar salad or whatever the kind of salad you want. I think the most important part though is the order of it, so that it doesn't get soggy, because I think that's what steers people away from doing it.
And Robin, I just saw we got a great question for Kathy that I didn't see before, but about substitutions for tomatoes for the tomato soup recipe, because tomatoes can bother people in all kinds of ways. So we actually just did a presentation about tomatoes, and there are some that are lower in acid, but I'll steer away from that for now just to address the question. So that idea of the coconut milk making a creamy soup, you can pair that with pretty much anything if you're like me and you like things really rich and creamy. So we actually have a pumpkin cream sauce that does the same thing, a can of pureed pumpkin plus the coconut milk. You could definitely add rice to that, and that would be just the most delicious, amazing fall soup. And just follow that same ratio. And I think I've never tried it with the rice cooking in it, but I don't see why it wouldn't work. So I think that'd be my top recommendation. But even if you had cooked lentils or something like that and you wanted to make it creamier, you could just add the coconut milk in there and turn it, especially if you had something like leftover lentils just sitting around, didn't know what to do with it, you could turn it into a soup just by adding that coconut milk and some salt and pepper or whatever seasonings you like. Any other thoughts on that, Robin?
Oh, I mean, you honestly, if you wanted to stick with the rice, you could probably just swap out and use like veggie broth. And then if you wanted to throw in like some other kind of frozen veggie, you would actually turn it into like a little veggie stew almost. So then you'd steer real clear of the tomatoes. And then my other thought would be something like carrot based. I know you'd probably end up needing a blender for that, but if you boiled your carrots and blended them in with the coconut milk, added the rice at the end and warmed it all up together, that would be pretty good.
Yeah, I'm really starting to get hungry now.
I know. I feel like we're gonna have to think about this because we could come up with about 5 more soup flavors.
Yes, I know that. Yeah. And we love to brainstorm on
exactly
this. So
that.
we'll let Paige know too when she sends
Yeah.
the roundup email if we've come up with any more ideas. But on to Robin talking about salad in a jar. One of my favorite things to point out that is so cool if you start going plant-based is that if you're marinating anything and tossing it on the grill, you can save that leftover marinade, add a little vegan mayonnaise. My favorite is the Follow Your Heart Veganase. I'll put that in the chat. It is the best mayonnaise I've ever had, vegan or not, but toss a little bit of that with your extra marinade and you can then not waste that marinade because it hasn't been contaminated by what I lovingly call the meat cooties. And the other great thing about this too is that's the kind of thing where that flavor gets better and better too. So it's a great make ahead thing. Oh, and I had oh, great. I forgot that I put the creamy tomato soup in here. So here we go. It is right here. And it is just, like I said, the can of pumpkin puree and the coconut milk. So it is a little bit thicker and you could certainly thin it out and add a second can of coconut milk if you want it to be soupier. And it pairs really well with a lot of different flavors. And my favorites are sun-dried tomato and beans. And then occasionally I might put a vegan sausage in there. The Beyond sausages, if you have not tried them, especially if you're trying to win over a meat eater, are very convincing. They're breakfast Italian, hot Italian, and brats. I've had them all. They're very fatty. So that might not appeal to you, but if you do like that kind of sausage, like a typical brat, you would love these. Oh, pita pizzas, my favorite thing. So this is great for kids, college kids, everyone. I used to do this all the time. I was so busy at work. Any kind of pita will do, and any kind of topping will do. So I know we don't have a lot of time to spend on this, but this slide kind of gives you an example, and you'll have this to refer to of the different sort of spreads and toppings you can get really inventive with. And you could go to Trader Joe's and get this pita bread for like $1.50 and do just about anything to make the coolest little pita pizza right on the oven rack for 10 minutes and it gets nice and crispy. And when I'm on one of my health kicks, I do the whole wheat pita, hummus, a bunch of veggies, and then I feel like I've gotten this delicious pizza experience while still getting some great fiber and protein and veggies in. And very similar to pita pizza, I know I mentioned my love of tortillas earlier, and I'm just making a note about the veganase because I don't want to forget to put that in the chat. But tortillas, so cheap. And if you're going low carb or whole wheat or whatever your dietary restrictions might be, there's probably a tortilla out there for you. And just like with the pita pizzas, you can get really creative about the spread. So those similar toppings that I was showing you on pita pizza, you can put them in a quesadilla. So even like mashed sweet potato refried beans, again, hummus, that's a really great binder. So you don't, if you're not feeling the vegan cheeses, although talk to us about that and keep trying them because they're getting better and better. There's lots of other ways you can make a tasty plant-based quesadilla and super kid friendly. You can make this from start to finish in 10 minutes. You don't need to grease your pan. So this, you could do it in the microwave, but this, we have a few recipes in the college cookbook that we really recommend on the stovetop. Just simple pan, heat it up, medium high heat, and toast it right on both sides. And I love it. Like, people tend to think you need to oil the pan for quesadillas, but you don't. Oh, and my other favorite, so a tempeh BLT. Lots of good vegan cheeses and mayonnaise out there. I am still on a quest for a proper vegan bacon. If you go on our YouTube channel, you will see the trials and tribulations of my experimentation with the vegan bacon. But my favorite is the Light Life smoky tempeh bacon strips. They're not very bacony, but they've got a great smoky flavor, tons of nutrition, really healthy. And if you pair that with your usual avocado BLT ingredients, it is absolutely spectacular. And I'll put both of those in the chat right now while Robin shares some nutrition.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, so I was just going to jump in. Tempeh is a soy-based product. It's incredibly nutrient dense, and it is good for your gut health. It's also very filling. So similar to how popcorn can kind of like check that box of, salty potato chip cravings, tempeh can fill you up so you won't kind of overeat. You'll just, eat what you're hungry for, and it'll leave you full and satisfied.
Okay, one of my favorite hacks is to go with falafel. So again, that's a great thing for people who are transitioning over to plant-based is falafel, because pretty much everyone likes falafel. And you can buy it frozen pretty much everywhere now. Trader Joe's has it. And if you have a vegan cream cheese or a sour cream and dried dill, just take about a tablespoon, a hearty tablespoon of dill with about a half a container, stir it up. And if you have a couple hours to give it, and it'll basically, that makes a great dip as well. But that spread will take your falafel to the next level with just those two ingredients. And you don't even have to chop anything fresh. The dried dill, like Robin was mentioning earlier, is just for the chickpea salad, is one of the best herbs to have around. So if you are building that spice pantry, definitely grab the dried dill. And I think, yes, speaking of Trader Joe's, I tell people all the time, I can't move to a town that doesn't have a Trader Joe's. So I made sure Bend had a Trader Joe's before I moved here in 2019. These are a few of my favorite packaged goods that they have, that you can basically dump any one of these on a potato, rice bowl, orzo pasta. I love to use any kind of pasta. And you don't have to cook anything, maybe except that grain or the potato, which you can microwave, and have a full, delicious meal. So if you haven't tried any of these, definitely check them out. They are all at our Bend Trader Joe's. And here are some of our favorite products. So you get the visual. And again, you'll have these in your back pocket. So if you forget, and definitely let us know if you have any questions, because this is not an exhaustive slide by any means, because we can't even keep up with all the new products coming out anymore. But there's the Vegenaise. Perfect. I did put it on there.
Right. Yeah. Yep. Top left.
And now everyone gets to graduate. Congratulations. So, and with 6 minutes to spare. And now that you've graduated Plant-Based 101 completely, we have stuff on our website that are some of our favorite resources, which we think you might really like. In particular, the Game Changers documentary on Netflix, not graphic, very entertaining. It's a great one to watch with family, partner. It's very family friendly. And also on that resources page, or on the More tab rather, we have, oh, sorry, Robin, can you go back one? Sorry. Yeah, so we've got the events there, and the events page is where we put all of our items, and I'll put that link in our chat too, and you'll get that from Paige. But our event page, we put all the presentations that we've ever done. So if you get a little lost on where to find our stuff, it's all captured there. And when you go to our site, we do not spam. We send out a monthly newsletter. That's about all we ever email. But if you're interested in joining that, you'll get this pop up on our site, and you'll automatically get our little plant-based primer, which is like a little starter kit. And we're on all the social medias, although we do kind of a poor job at the TikTok. We try, but mostly we are on Instagram and Facebook. And yeah, you can find us just about anywhere. Message us on any of these platforms. We're always checking. We always love to chat. And as promised at the beginning, so for everyone here today, we have a free shipping, a promo code for plant-based college cooking. So of course you can get it from the local library and always support your local library. But if you find that you really want your own copy, you can get it right from us and just enter free shipping and you'll get it free shipping, which is the same as what you'd see on Amazon. If you have Prime, free shipping there too. And these are all hyperlinks that'll be in the slides for you. And I think so. We did leave a few minutes for questions if there are
Yeah,
any.
was there anything in the chat that we missed, or did you? I think you pretty much got them.
I think I got them. Yeah. Thanks, Kathy.
Yes. So as everyone is developing their last minute questions, please feel free to put those in the chat or in the Q&A. Looks like we already got one coming through. I just want to say, wow. Thank you so much to Jules and Robin for taking the time today. I am definitely hungry. It is so wonderful and so heartening to hear how we can develop these really simple, easy, healthy recipes that all of us on our busy schedules, we all have a way of accessibly getting in on the vegan and learning a little bit more without having to be overwhelmed with a bunch of information. So I just want to say thank you for that. It looks like you are, so we have a question. Can you find this book in Bend? And of course, the answer is yes, but I'm going to go ahead and let you two tell us a little bit more about how we can find access to your book.
Yes. Yeah. Thanks, Marilyn. I actually forgot about that. I was so wrapped up in all our yummy food recipes. But yes, Newport Market has copies of Beefless Cakes, our first cookbook, and College Cooking. I think I saw a couple copies left there. I have to get in touch with them, but they should have a couple copies still there. And Beefless Cakes has been at Locavore and Hawthorne Books and Roundabout Books also. But I think Newport Market is the best option right now for the college cookbook if you'd also like to support a local store. Oh, and I see one more. You mentioned jelly or jam. Do you worry about too much sugar?
Yeah, so in the oats is peanut butter and jelly. So yeah, I try to avoid any of the jellies that add sugar to them. Like obviously there's going to be natural sugars in it, but if you can avoid something that adds sugar, it's actually a little disheartening when you stand in the aisle and you look and you read all the labels and you realize how much sugar is added to a lot of those. I wish I had a picture of it, but the brand that I really like it's Crofters or Croftons, and I'm blanking on it. They're organic. They're the lowest amount of sugar that I could find that I was comfortable with. And then you can get the like sugar-free, but then they've added something else in it. And so usually if it's like advertising that that ingredient's not in there, it kind of makes me even more worried about what they've put in there. So yeah, they are hard to find. Crofters or Croftons, and they have like an animal on the front of it. That's you can like picture it, right? And they actually have a couple really good flavors. They have wild blueberry, which is my youngest's favorite, and it's really good. And strawberry, which in my opinion, that's peanut butter's match. So,
and you got one more, Robin. With B12, how much should you supplement with?
Oh, that's a really good question. So it's like a spray. And it's whatever 2 sprays is. So that's terrible. I should know the amount as well. It's truly not a lot that you need, even, just on like, not even from a supplement point of view, like the amount that you need is very, very small anyway. So I'm sorry, I don't have the specific answer for that, but I know that it's a very small amount.
Yes. And
I used to know the exact amount, and I'm sorry, I don't have it.
And what Robin and I will do, Betsy, thanks so much for asking that. We will send to Paige the brands that we both use. I have a vitamin supplement, and I found like one tablet a week is about the most I think I need, because I think that a lot of the things I'm having every day, like my oat milk, is fortified with B12. So that's something to keep in mind too, that all of us are accessing B12 often through some of the other products that we're consuming. Thank you, Betsy.
And we have a request from the Q&A. Do you mind going back to your social media handle one more time for us?
Yes.
Perfect. That's the one. There you go, Linda. Hope you can see that now. All right. And just as we wrap up here, just a couple quick little reminders. So as we were walking through this presentation, there were so many good recipes, so many great things that you wanted to capture. We'll be sending you an email following this presentation that will have not only the recording of the presentation, but all those links and all that great information that you've gotten tossed out at you tonight, so you don't have to remember anything. We hope that you can connect to Jules and Robin after the fact, because these two really are a gem, and we're so grateful for their time tonight, so that they can help you in a one-on-one aspect to learn all about the tricks and tips for going plant-based. We also want to remind you that there were a couple of questions at the forefront about, what kind of equipment do I need to have? What kind of cooking equipment should I get? And don't forget that our library, your library, has not only books. So not only can you find these great cookbooks by these two wonderful authors, you can also check out our library of things at deschuteslibrary.org. And you can check out things such as an air fryer, a mixer, a panini press, and so much more. So try it before you buy it. The library is here to help with all of your plant-based cooking. We have just a couple of people saying thank you so much for the great information. So we'll end on that note. Jules, Robin, this was wonderful to get to see you again. Thank you for all you do for us and the community. Any last words tonight?
Oh, just thank you so much. Like we said at the beginning, we love putting these together. If anybody has a topic of interest, please send us a message about it. We'd be happy to talk about anything.
Yep. Thank you so much.
Great. Well, have a good night, everyone. We hope to see you again next time. Check out deschuteslibrary.org for all of our other great fun free programs. I'll see you there.